Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Build Computers. This video is a response to a comment, or rather a criticism, that comes up in my YouTube comments very frequently. So firstly, please don't take this as a sarcastic or a jab back or anything like that. This is merely a conversational video as a response because I get bored of having to type out the same paragraph response every time I see this message. So, the criticism is that when I build computers on this channel, quite often I will mount my power supply with the fan pointing upwards. So I'll put the power supply in the computer like that. So the fan is pointing upwards and it blows out the back there, like that. Most people look at that and they say, that's wrong, you've mounted the power supply upside down. You can't do that. Your power supply is going to choke or it's going to blow up or whatever. So the answer to that is no, it'll be fine. So the reason why there is this perception that the power supply can only go this way up with the fan pointing down is because on most modern cases, there's a vent on the bottom of the case which has this dust filter on it here. And the idea is that you mount your power supply with the fan pointing down and it sucks air in through that vent and then blows out the back of the computer. And part of the theory of that is, obviously any heat that's generated in the power supply comes in and goes straight out and it doesn't affect the rest of the computer. Fair enough. It's a good idea. However, the reason why I don't like that is because intaking air from underneath the computer is a terrible idea because it's basically going to hoover up all of the dust off of the desk or off of the floor, or off of the carpet, or whatever the computer is sitting on. Now, obviously, this is what the dust filter is here to combat, and that dust filter will do a good job of filtering that out. However, some people don't know that dust filter is there, or some people just don't care and they don't maintain their computer. And that is the case with a lot of people. Not everyone likes to take their computer apart every weekend to clean it out. And so when I'm building computers for other people, I don't know how much maintenance that computer is going to get. So if there's anything I can do to reduce the mandatory maintenance steps on the computer, I'll do that. And so in this case, by mounting the power supply fan side up, I know that I don't need to worry about telling them to clear that filter because everything is going to go through the front filter of the case, which by and large gets much, much less dust onto it. A lot of the time, the front filter in your case will very, very rarely need to be touched unless you're in a particularly egregious environment. So the other condition where my method of mounting fan side up will not work is if you have a case that does not have a vented power supply enclosure. So as you can see on this H500i here, we've got a vented power supply enclosure. So we've got easy airflow straight into that power supply. No problem whatsoever. However, on other cases, you might find that this power supply enclosure is completely solid and there's no vents here at all. Now in that situation, yeah, absolutely, you got to mount it fan side down. Otherwise the fan is not going to have any airflow, and then yes, absolutely, your power supply will overheat. So I only mount it fan pointing upwards when I'm able to do so. So then finally, another common complaint that I hear from people when I do this, and I say to them, oh, now I don't have to clean that filter and stuff like that. They say, oh, but now the power supply is getting hot air from in the case. That's a bad thing. Or it's fighting the graphics card or something like that. And the answer to that is no, not really. The graphics card just blows air everywhere. It just goes all over the place. There's no methodology to what the graphics card is doing most of the time. And its fans and the power supply fan are more than capable of pulling in air equally from this space down here. They're not high airflow enough that they're going to be throttling each other at all. And in terms of pulling in warm air from around the graphics card, the power supply doesn't produce a lot of heat. I could sit down and go through the numbers, but the point is it doesn't produce a lot of heat. And so likewise, that means it doesn't mind having slightly warmer air. The air inside your computer really isn't that much warmer than room temp, because obviously if your computer's airflow is working properly at all, you should have a steady flow of air going through the computer. And that means that the power supply is getting reasonably fresh air anyway, and it certainly doesn't mind. And for those of you who are a bit young to the game, it wasn't very long ago when this kind of internal computer layout where you had the power supply up the top with the fan pointing down, this used to be the meta. And on a case layout like this, which most people were running from a lowly Dell like this to a high-end gaming PC, all your hot air would obviously collect up the top of the case, and your power supply was one of your primary exhausts. And your power supply was actually responsible for getting a lot of the hot air out of the computer. You'd have a rear fan as well, but that'd be working in tandem with your power supply. And this was the norm for years, and we weren't melting power supplies. So that stands to reason that it's absolutely fine. I actually have a theory that the reason why they started doing the whole vent through the bottom in the first place is that when cases with a bottom mount power supply first came along, obviously we had this problem where all of the power supply stickers would be upside down in the computer. And I actually have a theory that the case manufacturers started out the whole fan side down thing in order to make sure that your power supply's label would be the right way up. However, very quickly power supply manufacturers started doing an invertible design. So if you have a look at this power supply, with the fan pointing upwards, it's like that, and with the fan pointing downwards, it's still the right way up. They actually put the label upside down on either side, so you can mount it either way up and it'll still look correct. And as I say, I have a suspicion that the meta of having it fan pointing downwards actually started just for aesthetics. But I have no basis for that. At any rate, there's lots of ways to build a computer. You can put your power supply either way up that the airflow of your case will allow for. You can mount fans wherever you feel like they will work in your computer. And you can try different things to see what works. 9 times out of 10, fan arrangement and things like that will often make little to no difference whatsoever. It's more just a matter of as long as you have airflow. And that is what is more important. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.